have ever been to a physical and/or physiotherapist to treat shoulder pain, and if they were very smart, sometimes lower back pain, they've probably done some kind of shoulder assessment with you. And in this video, I want to discuss shoulder internal rotation as an assessment and why it's often misappropriated by physical and/or physiotherapists. So this is what that would look like. This is me performing shoulder internal rotation on a client. And what's the context for this test mattering, specifically in those contexts of back pain and shoulder pain? So, setting the stage, we have something called left AIC. Basically, just to summarize what it is, it's a pelvis pattern that makes it so your pelvis is constantly oriented to the right and oriented in a clockwise motion by extension all the time, like this if I drew a circle on the screen. Now, that's what's happening at the pelvis. Discussed that previously in other videos. If you want more information, please watch those other videos which have more depth. What happens with this thoracic spine and by extension rib cage is this. It orients counterclockwise or leftward to counter the effects of left AIC, because now this rib cage is doing right BC. And when that rib cage is orienting that way, we have a right hemi rib cage that goes internal rotation, so it collapses almost, shrinks. Left hemi rib cage inflates, grows bigger, external rotation, and the position of the scapulae are affected. So, for the context of this video, I'm going to discuss more what happens with the right scapulae because we're testing the right shoulder in this test for a reason, and it's because this right HGIR test, so testing internal rotation of that right shoulder, gives us information about the position of the rib cage and what we need to fix in postural restoration, and specifically how we need to improve our breathing mechanics within this rib cage to allow for optimal airflow and less shoulder pain in the future. So here's what's happening with that scapulae. Pretend this is a right scapulae for me. I'm going to put a picture up too after I explain it a couple times just to give you the best image I can of what is going on. We have this right scapulae and it is winging like this because of the position the rib cage is constantly in due to that thoracic spine rotation. So from a back view, it's coming off like this. It's coming off like this on a side view if you look at it from this right side. And in terms of a picture, just to give you a better idea of what that looks like, here is what's happening with that right scapulae. Bang. Right on the screen, described, post editing below what is going on and what you need to know about that right scapulae. Again, just going to show it one more time with the cardboard. That right scapulae is winging like that. And here's the problem when that right scapulae wings. Physically, biomechanically, whatever term you want to use, if I have a shoulder, pretend this is a humeral head instead of a femoral head with me, that is becoming impinged because this right scapula is winged, it's not going to internally rotate all the way. It's going to be able to get down somewhat, but it's not going to go flat. It's not going to go 90. It's going to stay upright and limit that shoulder internal rotation. And again, I know that is difficult to see because I don't have a scapula model or something perfect to show it. So I'm going to also put an image on the screen with an actual humeral head that shows exactly how that right shoulder impingement is really occurring and what the problem is. Now, that is what's happening biomechanically. You have a physical impingement that is not allowing that right shoulder to fall to the table. That's not allowing this to occur, or at least full internal rotation of that right shoulder to occur. But that's only the physical side of the issue. Just like when I discussed the adduction drop test, this is more of a brain game than a biomechanical game. So, I've discussed this many times, but I might as well discuss it again because it's important and I need to get the message across as concisely as I can. We have a left brain and a right brain. Not literally, not where it's completely divided physically, just more so that functionally one side of the brain is better than another side of the brain at doing certain things. It's kind of like if you asked two professionals to switch jobs when they're both good at their said profession. Are they going to be as good at the other person's profession as their own? Probably not. It's probably doable, but is it necessary? Not really. And this is why left brain versus right brain should be in more mainstream scientific discussion. So, done science to discuss this in terms of like stroke victims, I believe, to figure out how right brain controls the left body, left brain controls right body. This is your dominant brain, and that's why right body is your dominant side, at least in part. That's why it's the default. When you are in fight or flight mode, you get sent over to that right side, and we exude this pattern that I just described over and over and over and over again and stay there forever. We need to get the brain comfortable and figure out how to make sustainable changes to our lifestyle to some extent, because again, left brain, I guess I didn't mention this in this video, but I mentioned in previous ones, is really good at this analytical information, math, science, language. It's good at what society tells us to be good at. But this right brain, which controls this left body, which we need a lot more of in our lives, controls the fun stuff, ideas, so individualism to some degree, arts, music. It controls different parts of our lives, and facilitating more of this and inhibiting more of this will probably actually surprisingly have some effect on that shoulder pain and sometimes lower back pain, because ribcage positioning, and make your life better because of it. Really what I'm trying to get at with this video is that while it is a physical issue, at least on a surface level, there's also a brain issue, because right BC at the end of the day is just the thoracic spine responding to left AIC below it. And left AIC is very heavily induced by what's happening up here in your head. So adding more of these activities into your life can probably improve your life to some degree and your pain. But I would still highly recommend, if you're someone dealing with this chronic pain for a long time, you haven't been able to get results from a physical physiotherapist or other mainstream practitioners, seeing someone that is educated in postural restoration and having them assess you, build you some kind of program, and kind of walk you through things, because postural restoration is a very integrated way of looking at healthcare and an integrated way of treating your chronic pain. Anyways, that is what I have to say on the subject, and I appreciate anyone who is watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you like this content, and I will see whoever wants to tune into the next video in the next video. Thank you for your time.